You know, it's said you can tell a lot about a person by going through their garbage. You can tell a lot about the United States by going through the garbage collecting United States on a Monday. And if someone went through the garbage collected in the United States on a Monday, this is what they would find. They would find 400 million empty beer cans, 350 million empty pop cans, 255 million empty pizza boxes, 76 million empty Amazon boxes, 71 million church bulletins. That's on a Monday. Now, clearly, that would describe Americans as what? Well, clearly, we drink a lot, we eat a lot, we buy a lot, and we have no idea what's going on in church. At least you're going. You know, when you have that style of consumption, and you're going to have depletion. And when you have depletion, you need that which is depleted, repleted. You have to replenish that which you use. And it's really the key point of today's gospel reading, the gospel coming out of the second chapter of John, verses 1 to 11. Anyone here this morning, any husband or wife who just feels exhausted, emptied, that I just can't give anymore because I've given everything I have, I'm just depleted, this gospel reading's for you. Any person who this morning finds life difficult, and a lot of people do. Life is drudgery. Getting up in the morning is a difficult thing to do. Facing a new day is a difficult thing to do. Looking ahead at a new week almost seems like an insurmountable mountain to achieve and to climb over. This gospel reading's for you. Because the message of today's gospel reading we acquire and learn this morning from Mary on how she knows how she's going to replenish the wine that has run empty. Let's take a look at verses 1 and 2 of the second chapter of John. It says right here, there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples are also invited to the wedding. Now, this wedding that occurs in Cana in Galilee, this is the very first miracle that Jesus performs in his public ministry. Now, we don't know who all was invited to the wedding, but we do know by verses 1 and 2, the second chapter of John, we know 14 people who attended that wedding. The disciples of Jesus, that's 12. Jesus is 13 and Mary is 14. Now, I find a very interesting conversation occurs between Mary and Jesus in verses 3 to 5. Let's just take a look at this, and maybe you caught it when I read it. So here on verses 3 to 5, second chapter of John, it goes like this. When the wine ran short, the mother of Jesus said to him, they have no wine. And Jesus said to her, woman, how does your concern affect me? My hour is not yet come. And his mother said to the servers, do whatever he tells you. I find those sentences, those verses, absolutely amazing. See, every one of us, we aspire to the divinity of Christ, because Christ had two natures, human and divine. I aspire to the divinity of Christ. The humanity of Christ, I understand. This line right here, these verses show the humanity of Jesus Christ. Maybe he was not in the best of moods, but look at what he tells his mother. She said, the wine has run short. Jesus said to her, woman, how does this concern of you affect me? When was the first time you called your mom woman? That would have been the last time. I never said to my mom woman. I never said woman in front of her. I never said woman behind her back. I never thought of saying, woman, hey, woman. I find that amazing, but that's the humanity of Jesus Christ when he says, woman, because he was human and divine. That's his humanity coming through, the foils of being a human being. Sometimes we get just a little crass. This really happens all the time for moms. Everyone here who's a mom, you understand. You know, all day long, what happens? Your son or daughter says to you, Mom, can you do this, do that, get this, take me here, take me there, do all these things for me. And then when mom says to her son or daughter after she's done 25 favors in a row for their child, mom says, can you please clean your room? And what happens? What's the reaction? They mumble something under their breath. It's the end of the world. What do most moms do? Most moms do exactly what Mary did. She kind of just swallows it. She doesn't really respond to it. But I love what Mary does in that last verse. She looks at Jesus and she basically is going to tell Jesus, we're not going to have a conversation. We're not going to have a dialogue. Look at her response to that phrase, woman. She doesn't say anything to Jesus. She simply looks at the waiters and said to the servants, do whatever he tells you. She's basically saying this, guess what, Jesus? You're doing it. Like it or not, you're doing, I just told the waiters, do whatever he tells you. And Jesus had to stand there and realize, well, that's, Mom she's told me what to do. I got to do whatever I have to do. You see, what's beautiful about that whole part is Mary understood where you need to go to be replenished. And that's the message for this morning. On this cold, chilly Sunday morning, it's a message that hopefully we take to heart and we live. For any husband or wife or student or child who feels depleted, that I'm just exhausted, I just can't go on, where do I turn in order to get replenished? And the answer is the cross of Christ. Christ will always replenish us. For the person who finds that life is difficult, my life is difficult. I find it difficult to wake up in the morning, to start a new week. I have issues, health issues, mental issues, things I got to deal with that are just so insurmountable that I find it difficult to just get through that which I must face and try to get through. How do I get replenished when I feel exhausted and empty? And the answer is the cross of Christ. Someone just once asked Jesus Christ how much he loved me, and Jesus said, I love you this much. And he opened up his arms and stretched his arms out and died on a cross for all of us so that we could be replenished. Our prayer this morning for all those who are here and those who could not make it. For all people who find life difficult, who are running on empty, who are exhausted and depleted, Heavenly Father, give us the understanding that when we need repleted, when we need replenished, we can turn to you, turn to your cross. That's where I'm going to find fulfillment. That's where I get my empty gas tank refilled in my life. That's where I find comfort to my soul. That's where I find security under the floor in which I stand upon. Heavenly Father, give me the ability to turn to you when I feel empty, depleted, exhausted. Mary was right. She turned to Jesus. She realized he was the one that could do something about the shortage of wine. Realize the same thing, Heavenly Father. Give us all the ability to realize that when we are empty, when we are exhausted, when we are depleted, and we're trying to figure out how to continue on in life, allow us to realize there's only one person we can turn to, and that's Jesus. Because Jesus will replenish that which is depleted in our lives.